So I've got a bit of a can of worms here as a second question, um, which has been covered many a time, but it just keeps resurfacing, which is our 250 knots below 10,000 rule. This is something that has come up pretty much on every piece of feedback and survey and on the forums pretty consistently since day one when that rule was put in place. We've had a lot of internal conversations about it, but I'm gonna pass it over to Stefan and Quincy to address why we have that 250 knots below 10,000 rule and what we're doing, looking forward into the future as far as what we're doing about that.
Um, okay, Quincy, if you don't mind, I'll start off with this one. I know you're probably still departing. I do have ATC, so I might quickly hand it over back to you, Lorenzo.
Yep.
Um, what I want to want to say about the this issue is that um, the 250 knots is not just legislation coming from actual airspeed restrictions from airspaces. There's actually a reason why a lot of real-world airlines have opted to put this in as a company rule, basically, which has to do all with birds. And the thing that's going on is that um, the speed is dependent is a crucial factor in whether or not a bird will go through or through the windshield or not. Um, that being said, it's been proven that above 250 knots indicated airspeed, the chances of a bird actually penetrating the cockpit or the windshield is way higher than below the 250 knots. Um, and the 10,000 feet is coupled because birds tend not to fly much higher than flight level 100 or 10,000 feet. So that's basically another reason for that rule. And I know for a fact that KLM enforces that rule as well, as far as practical, that is.
So could you kind of I want to kind of play devil's advocate here. You said as far as practical, obviously there are situations where you might have a high speed departure or something outside of standard operating procedures, right?
Well, a reason for going over to 250 knots might be payload and um, not being able to fly with flaps up at speeds below 250 knots. It doesn't really happen that often. Um, However, the the most important notes to make with that is emergencies. For emergencies, of course, you are not bound by company rules. You have basically a green card to do whatever is you deem necessary at that point to get the aircraft down safely. And that's a note that of course it applies to this as well.
Right, and emergencies open, is a whole other discussion point, especially when it comes to scoring. But the scoring is all designed on standard operating procedure and isn't great at handling kind of these exceptions or these unusual situations. But I've got to know we'll be going into scoring in ACARs later on.